everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ask an Assistant, the podcast for executive assistants and the people like you listening that love us. I'm your host, Jess Lindgren. Let's get to work. Diving right in this week, esteemed colleague Bailey wrote in with the following. Hi Jess, I'm doing some digital spring cleaning at work and have been asked to get rid of any domains we aren't using. How exactly do I do that? Bailey, I thank you so much for your question. If anyone listening has a question that they'd like me to answer on the show, I would love to hear from you at askanassistant.com, linked in the show notes. As always, would love to hear from you. But back to Bailey's question. Every company is different, every executive is different, and every executive assistant is different. That is something that I really love about this role. We all interact with different tasks, projects, and systems for different reasons at different times at different companies. Some companies would have IT handle something like this, while sometimes it falls to someone in an executive assistant capacity or anywhere in between. Personally, I don't handle any of my full-time job domains. That remains in my executive's hands, and we do have a fractional CTO, Chief Technology Officer, who I believe does assist with some of those tasks, but by and large, I do think it is largely my executive. Every so often, I'll see a little notice come through like, oh, congrats on your domain purchase, or so-and-so domain is up for renewal. So things definitely happen, but thankfully not my purview in that capacity at my full-time job. But I do have a handful of domains personally, and I guess handful is kind of not the right term. I had north of 20 domains up until recently, several of which I very recently decided not to renew, which honestly felt like a huge weight off my shoulders. I've spent a lot of money over the years for projects that I never fully developed. It feels really good to let them go, especially since when I first renewed or first registered most of those domains, they were in the like $5 to $10 a year domain registration fee, and last I checked they're in the like $15 to $17 a year domain registration, which not exactly breaking the bank, but if you do a little back of the napkin math, so let's just say 25 domains times $17, that's $425 a year. It has been slowly ratcheting up to that annual cost, but somewhere in the $350 to $450 a year domain habit. So really nice to let a bunch of those go. It's sad to not renew them, but it is a good cost savings, especially as I have restarted my business entity this year. I'm a big, let's review things. Let's see what we're actually paying for. Let's trim the fat, as it were. Let's stop paying for things that we're not using. I've been thinking about looking into selling and or auctioning them. We'll see. But maybe I won't. Who knows? Anyway, for Bailey and anyone listening, details are going to vary a little bit based on your domain registrar. And the domain registrar is the place that you or your company bought and or registered the domains. For example, all of my personal domains are registered through a company called Hover, while other people that I know use different sites like Namecheap, Bluehost, GoDaddy. I'm sure there's no shortage of registrar options out there, so be sure to look at the knowledge base for the service that your company uses for some of the finer points. If you're going to just let the domains go, log into your account, turn off auto renew. Super simple. Just did it myself inside a Hover, and there's literally just a cute little icon that's kind of not quite an infinity symbol, but almost looks like a reduce, reuse, recycle, like it's two little arrows following each other. I forget exactly which symbol that is on an old school like radio CD player, because it's been a while since I've had one. But like a repeat, it's just a little icon that you can click on and off, and it just tells you right there, you're turning off auto renew, no big deal. The internet is a very different place now than it was 15 years ago when I registered my first domains. So I think things have gotten a lot more user friendly. But again, just check out your dashboard inside of your domain registrar account and check out that knowledge base to make sure that you're following all the right steps. If you want to auction your domains, that's something that I'm personally looking into at the moment, so I can't offer specific advice in that realm just yet. But honestly, I just hope that someone takes all my old domains. I mean, there's like domain scraping services that see when something hasn't been renewed and it'll get snapped up. So I hope it goes to somebody that will use it. But if you happen to have interested parties for any of your domains, you're going to want to use a third-party broker. And this applies to buying or selling any digital item. You want to make sure that the seller provides the digital asset, and you want to make sure that the buyer pays you, just depending on if you're the buyer or the seller. Just anytime with a digital asset, a contract is somewhat enforceable depending. But once you've handed your money over, it's kind of like the little warning that pops up on Venmo. Like, are you sure you want to send $500 to someone you've never sent money to before? Because we can't help you get that money back. Somebody with a contract, sure, it's enforceable to a degree, but depending on how good somebody might be at writing a contract and appearing legitimate, they might take your $500, $5,000, $50,000 and just disappear and leaving you with no recourse. So using a third-party broker is really important. You do pay a fee when using this service. Sometimes it is a flat fee. Sometimes it's a percentage of the sale price, but it's totally, totally worth it to have an impartial third party to collect the asset, in this case, a domain. So if you were using the same services that I use, which are Hover, and then the third-party brokerage service is called escrow.com. In this case, you would provide your domain to escrow.com and someone else would pay escrow.com. So then escrow.com has your domain, they have the money, and then once both items have been collected, they release to the respective parties. It's silly to do it without that. Don't be going with a handshake and a high five and saying, okay, let's do this. It's always worth it to have those protections. It's been super smooth every time that I've used it. And I will admit that I have bought a few domains over the years, sometimes for like $50, sometimes for like $500. You have grand plans and you find a domain that you think is so cool and you just go for it. So, Bailey, I hope that helps. Let me know where things land for you and your company. I would love to know what service you used and if everything went smoothly. And if anyone out there listening has a question, as always, please drop me a line at askanassistant.com. I love to hear from you. I hope you all had a great day. And until next week, take care.